Hey everybody, this is Ben from T3 bringing you the final match from the San Rafael Regionals that I have for you. So again, I know these are all way delayed from when we actually played them back in July, but we got the problems with the software all sorted out, and I should be able to bring you these much faster with better turnaround. So my opponent on the left is playing Jinteki, Personal Evolution, which deals net damage every time an agenda is scored or stolen, and I am playing Noise, who mills a virus every time, or Noise, who mills a card from the top card of the corp deck every time he plays a virus. So my opponent right off the bat is getting money aggressively, giving me some money at the same time with a medical research fundraiser, and throwing that upgrade over R&D. So immediately my first thought with that is it's a Hakusai grid. Maybe Tori, but I feel like most likely that's going to be a Hakusai grid, and I want to check that out and get that dealt with as quickly as possible. And yeah, it is a Hakusai grid. So that pings me because he's going to res it, killing my Grimoire, which is not something I like to see ever. But really, I guess it's not too important here, just because I would rather have those hit points, and the data suckers are good because later in the game it's going to help me kill his ice. So give and take, it's a free access right now, and I can just keep getting those data sucker tokens, but in the meantime it's put me in not a great position since I only have a data sucker. And just checking the mill card. I'm not sure if that's the right play. I think I should have checked R&D here again, since... Oh no, I'm sorry, that was a biotic that we saw before, so... Probably still did that order. I should have... out of order. I should have checked R&D, then played the data sucker to mill that top card, and then checked R&D again. But I guess this way it ends up with 2 data sucker tokens, so... Can go either way there.
No one ever expects 5 snares since it's cheating, and it works really well.
So I'm lucky fine just to grab some money, which this deck definitely needs, and this Noise deck doesn't have any method of draw other than just clicking to draw, and it has express delivery, which lets me be a little bit more selective, but other than that, I need to draw the hard way. I know diesels are quality times like a lot of other Noise decks. And he scores the Clone Retirement from hand, just a 2-1 agenda, and takes out my Knight, which isn't good. It's a little expensive for this Jinteki ice, which typically has really low strength. I'd prefer to see a Crypsis at this point, even though he doesn't have any ice. But a Crypsis probably has a little bit more utility than Knight against Jinteki, because it's going to be cheaper. Like even Yagura, the Jinteki ice, it costs 1 to res, it costs Knight 4 to break, costs Crypsis 2 and a click. It's a little bit more economical in that way, but still, any icebreaker, and I've been seeing all these ice, and that looks like it's an Ichi 1, I think. Can't really make it out. Oh no, that's one of the Yaguras, so I imp the Yagura, which, since I don't have any breakers right now, I don't want to keep having to take net damage and give him control over his draws. But you can see in his hand, he just installed a Komainu, and I think that last a Komainu in front of R&D, and I think it was a Tsurugi, but I couldn't quite see it in front of the remote, and continuing to leave HQ open. And actually, he knows my deck. We played earlier in the tournament in Swiss, and he knows I don't play siphons or anything like that, so he is at absolutely no risk leaving his HQ open, and I think he's using that to his advantage a little bit, but there's nothing I can really do. I don't have any type of punish. There's no nerve agents. There's just single legwork, and I'm always hesitant to legwork against Jinteki because they typically will hurt you back with a snare or shock or fetal AI. It's really easy to lose all of your cards and die against Jinteki Personal Evolution, and that's actually how I lost the first game. If you hadn't seen that, I medium digged into a fetal and a snare and lost the game. So I'm definitely on edge here and not running as aggressively as I would like to, but he sticks another ice over the remote and installs. and I'm still stuck without really having a breaker. Looks like I have another data sucker in hand. I can't quite make out anything else. I know I drew a sure gamble earlier. Yeah, just the way I hold my cards doesn't help. Clone ship, even though I don't have anything of note in archives, and we're going to check that now, but other than that knight, which isn't really worthwhile for a clone ship in this instance, I'd prefer to save it for a parasite or anything else really, especially with Jinteki when I'm going to be taking damage and losing those cards in hand. I'd prefer to use the clone ship to recover something I might actually need. And trying to go into R&D, and okay, so I had two Crypsis, a Data Sucker, and a Medium. All of those cards were something I would have rather had, and I actually probably should have installed one of those Crypsis while I had it in my hand to save me the clone ship. That was just a misplay on my part. And if I hadn't drawn up there, he's going to score out the Brain Trust. If I hadn't drawn up, I would have died just for him scoring the agenda. So this is kind of the issue I always have against playing Jinteki, whether I want to play my cards and use them or just use them as hit points. And I'm not sure if there's really a right answer. And this deck doesn't play any Net Shields or Deus Ex or anything like that. So, and with no draw, it makes it a kind of a difficult matchup because I have to use my clicks just to draw, and then if I want to run, I can't install my cards. So catches me in a little bit of a catch-22, and I saw when I drew up there it was a liberated accounts, which it's sure gamble. It's 4 sure gambles for 1 cost more, and I think there was a Katie and another Deja Vu maybe. I'm not too sure. So just trying to figure out what I want to do here. I don't have a good plan of attack. I could get the Crypsis back and try and go through that Kamino, but it gets really, really expensive. Figure it's 1 plus however many cards I have in my hand to break, and another click to load Crypsis. And I decided to go for HQ a little bit and get the Caprice, which is nice. Don't like seeing her. And then I get hit with a snare. And losing, looks like another clone ship, Katie, and another medium. So losing my recursion, losing my economy, although I do still have that liberated account in hand. But still, it's never, there's usually you're hard pressed to find a good place to run against Jinteki. And I ditched the tag and gain a credit there. That wasn't quite clear, but the snare does give you the tag too, in addition to the damage, so just try and recover from that a little bit, and then he scores out another Brain Trust. So he's at game point, even though he's not sitting at a lot of credits. I haven't built a whole lot to help me end this game, or even kind of push myself past this kind of early game stage. And usually when you see personal evolution, they don't push through. They can't push agendas this fast, but I'm not sure if it's my hesitance, but I'm really just I'm not getting any of my answers here. Don't have a whole lot of money, and I am not drawing any parasites or not seeing anything like that. I think I might have finally just drawn one on my turn. It looks like I have one in my hand. So, okay, there it is. I'll Parasite the Kamino, which comes because of Grimoire. Parasite comes into play with the Virus token, which puts Kamino at 0 strength, triggers Parasite, and blows it up. And he mills a card because of Noise's ability. So I have a lot of good synergy, but it's really hard with Jinteki to actually get momentum and to keep going, because every score sets me back 1. In that when I score or he steals, I lose effectively the click from losing a card from my hand. Now the utility of that card I lose is going to depend on whatever it is, but so far he's had some really, really good shots with both his net damage from his ability and the snares and Kamino. So losing at 4 viruses, 5 if you include the clone chip, which obviously counts, so that could have been another parasite. which would have been a huge help, especially since I've been getting those data sucker tokens. Would have been a huge help in destroying some of that ice. And I think this was a misplay here, installing Liberated Account instead of checking his R&D again, because I imped the Archer, so destroyed it, because I guess I didn't want my empty imp and data sucker to get blown up. But I don't think I checked R&D afterwards, so I didn't see what was below that Archer, and instead got Liberated Accounts into play so I could quickly money up for whenever he tries to push out the next agenda in that remote. Running R&D again actually gets me the agenda this time, so I've had a fair number of accesses, but never has quite worked out, and this is my first point. So I'm not going to get shut out, which is good. Progress, I suppose, even if it's not ideal, but hey, puts me in a good spot. And earlier in this game as well, and you can see it in his hand, he has a biotic. So I had forgotten this. I'd forgotten that he had the biotic at this point in the game. So I was pretty much in a position where I would always run the remote, because he either needed to install and then wait a turn, or he would have to score 2 more clone retirements, which I thought was just unlikely. But again, this is after playing Netrunner for 12 hours, and it really starts to wear on you, and I completely forgot about the biotic labor he drew much earlier in the game. So I'm trying to protect or watch out for the remote instead of go after R&D in this case, and I'm just trying to calculate what are my options here at this point to try and get in. And just to remind you, in archives I have, or in my heap I guess, I have imps, medium, couple crypsis, and a parasite. So I have a few options with the clone chip. So I money up with Liberated Accounts, gaining 8 with 2 clicks, which is super great. And he just reses Ice Wall, which is enough to, well, with my board state, it's enough to stop me, but I'm going to get rid of that clone chip for something. Probably the Crypsis is a better play, because then I can potentially get through the next piece of ice, and that's what I'll do. So I'll get the Crypsis from my heap, which comes into play with the virus counter, and I'll use my data sucker to lower the strength of the ice wall, so Crypsis just has to spend a credit to break. So now if I have to use the Crypsis again, then it blows up, but this at least affords me the opportunity to get in and see that melange, which I then destroy. Even though he's sitting pretty, and yeah, so that really didn't seem to matter too much, and he biotics out the Philotic for the win. And going into this game, this is the one opponent that I did not want to play again in top 16, and we had a discussion about that afterwards, because he was one of the few people on the entire day that, or I think he might have been the only person the entire day who beat me in both phases of the game. He beat me as a corp and he beat me as a runner. So I knew he had tough decks, and I knew he was a really worthy opponent. Yeah, so really good game. I'm glad I made it to top 16. Much better than I anticipated. But thank you for watching, and I should have more videos up for you soon.